Good day, and welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob, and I'm happy for you to be here with me today. Thank you for joining me. In our most recent series of posts here at Your Vitality Project, we explored in quite a bit of depth the topic of sustained, successful sobriety. How do we achieve that? And remember now, when we talk about sobriety, we're talking about sobriety from any addiction. So whether it's addiction to substance, that's 25% of American adults, or addiction to some other self-destructive, self-defeating behavior, that's 90% of American adults. And then if we add to that other self-destructive or self-defeating attitudes, such as resentment or self-condemnation, well, I think that's 100% of us. So we're talking about sobriety from addiction in the broadest sense, but also in the most universal sense. And so when we talk about addiction this way in its universality, we're really talking about addiction as enslavement. And all of us know what it is to be enslaved to a substance, to a behavior, to an attitude. The Latin root for the word addiction is addictus, and we've talked about that here. And I like that connection. Don't like addiction, but I like the clarification, that understanding that its root in Latin has to do with being enslaved. And in the presence of enslavement, what do we want? Well, we all want freedom. We want to be liberated from that. And what do we want to be free to do? We want to be free to be able to live out our birthright, to be able to contribute what each one of us has been uniquely been given to contribute. And so this is the reason for the season. This is the motivation here. The chief incentive for sobriety is to be able to live out our true potential. Now, that's the key question we addressed in the last several posts here. And I recommend you to those posts if you haven't seen them, or if you have, go back and review them, please. Our previous module, the umbrella for this was the term or the title, Achieving Sustained Sobriety. But today, and in this current series moving forward, what I'd like to do next is to zero in on something that I also think that all of us can relate to, something that poses a major obstacle to our succeeding in sustaining sobriety and to our succeeding in recovering from whatever form of enslavement you might be able to relate to. I should say form or forms, because the fact is most of us have multiple enslavements. So what I want to focus on is what gets in the way of that. Specifically, I want to be focusing in the next handful of conversations on what I call high-risk stressors in our day-to-day lives and what we can do to navigate them. For today, what I'd like to invite you to do, just as we kind of move into this topic, I'd like to invite you to join me in journaling. Write down the top 3 stressors that you recall having faced this past week, the top 3 stressors. Write that down. And once you've done that, I want to ask you to see if you can draw a link between each one of those stressors that you identified and any form of addictive craving and or acting out, which followed on that stressor. So I want to see if you can connect up stressor A to addiction, whether it be in the form of craving, longing for an addictive outlet, and or actually engaging or indulging in that outlet. And I want you to make that link, if you would, and just write it out. What we want to do here to start with in our talking about high-risk situations or stressors, we want to get very conscious in a fine-tuned way of the deep connection between situations that arise in our lives, on the one hand, what we're going to be calling high-risk situations or stressors, and what it is that we need to do in order to navigate them without addictive relapse, because so oftentimes they go hand in hand. If the number one trigger for addictive relapse is distress, what we're looking at is finding out those stressors in our lives that move from being a common stressor into deeper distress that we have to self-medicate. That's the math of relapse, and what we want to do is reverse that math. We want to add a subtraction to that equation and find a way to creatively cope with what it is that is inevitable in our lives, which is day-to-day stress. So I hope that you'll join me. I look forward to seeing what you find out in this initial exercise. I want to thank you again for being with me today. Thanks for being with me here at the Vitality Project. Please take good care of yourself. Good luck with the exercise. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you here again very soon. Thank you.